Hello guys, welcome to NameTech channel. My name is Nehemiah, and today I'm going to take you through JavaScript Complete course step by step, and you can always find a reference to this course on our website, the NameTech website. And so guys, we are going to begin by first answering these questions. What is JavaScript, and why JavaScript, and how to use JavaScript? And before get there guys, if it's your first time to learn to this channel, please show some love by subscribing, and also you can like and comment to this video. I'll appreciate it very much. And so what is JavaScript? JavaScript is one of the most popular programming languages. It was initially used to to design interactive web pages, but with a lot of community support like Google and Facebook, nowadays JavaScript can be used to create a full-blown web application, the mobile application, the real-time networking apps like the video streaming apps, or the chatting apps like WhatsApp, the Telegram, and name it. It can also be used to create the command line tools. It can be used to create games, computer games. And JavaScript can be executed on a node or in browsers. Basically, almost all browsers have JavaScript installed in it. As I told you earlier that JavaScript can be run on Node. Basically, Node is a C++ program including the Google V8 JavaScript engine, and so you can write your JavaScript there for web apps, for backend, and a mobile application for backends. However, it can also be run on browsers, and I'm going to show you an example. Let me open, for example, my browser. My default browser is Chrome, and for you to understand it, let me open my browser. I'm using the Google Chrome, so let me open my Google Chrome, and then now you just right click, and then go down here and click on inspect. So once you inspect, you'll have this kind of page. So by default it is in these elements. So go to the console. So once you are in console, I want to show you that JavaScript is installed already in this browser. So let me write here some JavaScript program statements. So like let me say console.log, and then open and close the these are parentheses, the brackets, and then here just write these are two quotation mark, and perhaps let me say NameTech. NameTech is awesome. NameTech is awesome. And then let me you close JavaScript statement with a semicolon, and then let me click on enter. So now you can see it can be run on a browser, and perhaps it can handle arithmetic function like let me say 10 plus 90, that should be 190. So when you click enter, you can see it gives you 100. Let's try also an alert function. So let me say alert, and then let me open and close these two parentheses, and then inside it let me add a single or a double quotation mark. Let me use a double quotation mark, and then let me say here let me write perhaps www.nametech.com. By the way, in this website we are offering all kind of programming courses with certification. You can visit us so that you can gain some skills here and be certified. However, let's try to understand how this it's executed. So let me click, and remember you close a statement with a semicolon. And so guys, when you click on it, you can see it brings a pop-up notification on the browser that www.nametech.com. so basically it can be used to create an alert. And so guys, by now I think you now understand that JavaScript is already installed on your browser. But now this is not where we are going to write these JavaScript codes. This is just for demo. However, let's close it and download our text editor. You can use any kind of text editor you have. You can use Sublime Text, you can use Atom, you can use brackets, but I always like Visual Studio Code. So you can just visit the Visual Studio website, Visual Studio Code website, VS website, and then here you click on this first link. This is the official website, and then you're going to download the Visual Studio Code. And so guys, this is the Visual Studio Code official website, and so you can download for Windows, you can download for Mac, or you can download for these other devices. So just click on it and download. I already have it, so let me just open mine. And so guys, once you launch your Visual Studio Code, you'll have this kind of a page, this kind of a window. So you can just close this other window here, so that you may just remain with this with only one window here for Visual Studio Code. And then you can close this get started tutorials here. And then now you can go to File, and then you're going to create a new folder. So open folder, and then you're going to decide where you're going to place your project. So let me put it here, the cheat sheet, and then let me create a new folder here, and then perhaps let me say JavaScript. Let me say JavaScript basics. You can give it any name, and then select the folder, and then now here you have it. And so guys, once you've opened that folder, you can create here a HTML file. And by the way, if you wanna be a front-end web developer, you should also know HTML and CSS. And so now you can just write index.html or HTML. Then I click enter. So let's get here a structure for HTML document. So let me just write an exclamation mark here, and then I click enter. So here you are going to, let me give it a title, like let me say name tech tutorials. Then now remember this name tech tutorial just appear there at the tab section, but not on the on the web. So here you can write in a H0 or a H1, and then perhaps let me write my website. So nametech.com, and then you can save. So once you've saved, guys, I want us to install something here, a live server here. So just click on these extensions, and then here just write live server. So I already have it installed, but you can install it here. It will bring some the install button here, and then you are going to click on it, and then you are going to install it. And so now once you've installed it, then you're going to right click here, and then you're going to click on open with live server. And so guys, you can see this is just an HTML, but now I want to focus on JavaScript. And as I told you earlier that JavaScript is a programming language, and then now let's try to understand JavaScript in details. So JavaScript, I told you that we are going to answer the questions, the 3 questions. We have answered I think 2 of them. So let's try to understand what can JavaScript do. So JavaScript can basically change the HTML content. It can also, we are going to do them practical here. JavaScript can change the HTML attributes, can change the HTML style, that is CSS. It can change also the other stuff. It can hide, it can open, HTML data elements. JavaScript can be placed on the head, but basically on the head, it's when you want to, create some on-click function, like, the on-click functions. But most of the time we place JavaScript here at the body, but now at the end of the body. Why at the end of the body? So for example, if you write your script tag, your JavaScript here above this body, so it may overwrite your entire data here, the HTML elements. So for example, if you run it on the website, on your page, it may have bad user experience because some data may be blank, or a JavaScript engine may take long to load your JavaScript, and then everything is just blank. So it's always wise to write it is always wise to write your JavaScript here at the end of the body, the closing, just below the closing tag of the body, so that it may be that perfect, so that you may have the good user experience on your website. And so guys, without much ado, let's try an example here. Let's say the script. Remember I told you that we use the script tag to define a JavaScript on the HTML element. And then now let's write here a statement that is used to execute JavaScript on the on the browser. So we are going to write here a statement that is used to execute JavaScript programs on the web. So let me say document dot get element by ID. And then we need to create an ID here. Let me say, so let me use this example. Let me say P, and then let me say introduction to JavaScript, JavaScript. And so guys, I want to show you that JavaScript can be used to change the HTML element, the content of the HTML element. So let me use an ID here, and then let me say just for demonstration, and then let me create the parentheses here. Then inside it I'm going to write that ID here. Let me say demo. It is demo. The ID is demo. And then here let me say dot inner HTML. Inner HTML, and then an equal sign, and then open and close this quotation mark. You can use a single or a double quotation mark. And then I say that JavaScript can be used to change the HTML element. So let me write here the new element that we want to change it. So let me say name tag is awesome. Name tag is awesome. And then remember you close a statement with a semicolon. It's always wise to close a statement with a semicolon. We are going to tackle these statements in details, but now let's understand first of all these are basics. So let me save, and then on the live server you can see name tag is awesome. So basically it has changed this introduction to JavaScript, and then it has assigned it to a new element. So perhaps let me try to remove this part, and this is a JavaScript part, and then let me just cut, and then save. So now you can see now it is introduction to JavaScript. But now when I put this JavaScript statement here and then save, then it automatically rewrites this introduction to JavaScript. So basically JavaScript can be used to change the HTML element. It can hide, it can open, and then we are going to handle all of the above as we go on, as we progress. And so guys, first of all, let's understand what is JavaScript statements. So let me use this example, JavaScript program. So computer programming is a list of instructions to be executed by a computer, and then these instructions are the ones that we call them in statements. So for example, this is an instruction, and then this instruction is automatically a statement that is used to execute this program on the web, on the web, on the website, on your web page. And then now JavaScript basically is a list of programming statements, and then this is the first statement, and then you close it with a semicolon. And then so for example, let me write here a variable. We are going to discuss all of them as we go on. So let me write here a variable, like let me say let. We are going to discuss all of these as we go on. Let x and then y. So as you write this, you are declaring a variable. But now when you say x equals to 20. Not you are assigning this x to, perhaps let me say 10 plus 20. So basically this you if you are not, you add an equal sign here, you are assigning this this variable to this value. So and then y let me say it is 100, and then now z let me give it, perhaps let me say this x plus y plus the JavaScript statement with a semicolon. And so guys, once you've written that, let's try to print out the value of z. So you're going to write here z. So let's say z and then save. So basically let's try to solve this first of all. So x it is 10 plus 20, that is 30, then y it is 100. So 100 plus 30, that is 130. So when we print z, it must give us that is 130. So let's save, and then on the browser you can see guys it is 130. And so basically this is a statement, this is a statement, this is a statement, this is a statement, this is a statement that is used to execute these are variables on the browser. And so guys, the other thing that we want us to understand is the the JavaScript comments. So this JavaScript comments can be used to explain JavaScript code and make it more readable. And so JavaScript comments can be also be used to prevent execution when testing alternative codes. So basically this they are just used to help developers to understand or to know the kind of codes or program they had written somewhere but will not appear on the browser. So the JavaScript engine usually ignore the comments. So with JavaScript we use these two forward slashes to declare a JavaScript comment. So let me say this is a variable. So this is a variable. So guys, once you save it and then on the browser you can see there's nothing that is appearing. However, if you change, if you use, for example, these let me use this comment to so that I may make all of these statements to be comments, and then star and then a forward slash, and then when you save, guys, nothing will appear on the browser. You can see it just bring that introduction to JavaScript, because we have considered this all of this stuff to be comments. So as I told you earlier that JavaScript engine usually ignores comments, so it will not appear on the browser. However, if we remove this part and then codes become colored like that, and then you save, so basically automatically it will print out 130, because this is not a comment, these are JavaScript programs. And so now guys, the other thing that we want us to understand is the JavaScript syntax. So JavaScript syntax is the set of rules that defines how JavaScript programs are constructed. Like these parts, like we have used x equals to 100. Like let's use this example here. Let x and then a y. So this is declaration. And then when we inserted like x equals to 100 plus 10 plus 20, and then y is 100. So we have assigned here, we have created here a variable. How to use a variable, this is how to create a variable. So basically these are the syntax. And then now we have the JavaScript values. So the JavaScript syntax define two types of values. You have the fixed values, you have the variable values, and then the fixed values are called the literals, while the variable values are called the variables. And then perhaps let's try to understand these literals. So there are the two most syntax rules for fixed values are the numbers written without the decimal, and then we have the strings. So let's try to understand these. So let me say let me use this part. So first of all, let's declare a variable, like let's say let first name let first name equals to not we are assigning the first name to Nehemiah. Let's say Nehemiah. And then now here when you say first name, and then you save. So when it brings Nehemiah, so basically that is, basically these are the strings. So I said that it can have the numbers, it can have also the strings. So let's try a number here, like let's say let's write anything like 1000.500, and then and then save. Save. I know. So you can see, guys, it prints out that number. So basically these are the literals. As I told you earlier that the two most important syntax rules for fixed values are the numbers and the strings. And then for numbers, like what we use Nehemiah, and then actually the numbers, these are the numbers now, and then the strings, like what we used Nehemiah as an example. And so, guys, the other thing that we want us to talk about is the JavaScript variables. So first of all, what are the variables? So variables are the containers for storing data values. So guys, let's take this example. If you have a water tank to store water to be used in the future, likewise with variables. So variables are the the containers for storing the data values to be used later. And then we have 3 or 4 ways to declare JavaScript variables. We can use a var, we can use the late, and then a const. And also you can declare variable using the no keyword, without a keyword. So like let's try this example here. Let me say so like let me say x equals to 10, then you close with a semicolon, and then y equals to 20, equals to 20, and then you close with a semicolon, and then z, let's say equals to x plus y, and then your comma, and then we are going to write these statement that is used to execute JavaScript programs on the web browser. This is document dot get element by id dot get element by id, and then the id here is so first of all open and close the parentheses, and then you're going to write the id here is a demo. So before you write that demo, you write a quotation, 2 quotation marks. You can use a single or a double quotation mark. So there's no rows here, and then you write dot inner HTML, and then equal sign, and then I can say now z, and then you close a statement with what? Semicolon. It's not a must, but as a programmer is always prudent or wise to use the semicolon. It's always advisable. So guys, you can see it prints out that thing. So basically you can declare JavaScript variable without using any keyword. However, I will not recommend you to do that. And so now let's understand first of all these are the keywords, the var, the late, and the const. So let's first of all now understand the the var. So the var was actually the initial keyword that was used to declare JavaScript variables. So actually this is supported on all browsers. However, we have the latest version of the keyword to declare JavaScript, the late. So let me say for example, let me say var x var x equals to for example 20, and then you close, then var equals y equals to let's say 50, and then now you close with a semicolon, and then now here let me say var z now z equals to let's say 50 again, or let me say for z, let me use x plus y, and then you close with a semicolon, and then now let's write this as statement that is used to execute the JavaScript on the browser. So let me then I go dot get element by ID, and then now the ID here is demo. Actually we use the quotation marks, so you can use a single or a double quotation mark. So you can use here a double or a single quotation mark, and then you write here demo, and then you are going to write dot inner HTML, actually inner HTML, and then equal sign, and then you're going to write z. So let me say z, and then you close with a semicolon. So when you save, so you can see guys, it is let it load. So you can see guys, it is 70. So basically you can declare a JavaScript variable using the var, but these the old ways to declare JavaScript variable. The common now is the late. So why late? The late is just latest. It was just introduced 2015, but now with this late, it cannot be redeclared like the var can redeclare. Also the const can also cannot redeclare like this var. Like here I can say perhaps let me say here, let me show you the aspect that the var can be redeclared. So let me say here again, let me say z equals to actually var, and then let me say z equals to perhaps let me say 1000. So basically we have redeclared this z, so it will print out this 100. So when I save and then on the browser, guys, you can see it gives me 100. So basically the var can be redeclared, but now with the late cannot be redeclared. And then now again the var actually the late cannot be redeclared. So let's understand first of all this argument that it cannot be redeclared. So let's use this example, like let's say let me say let me just use let x equals to 1000, and then I close, and then I say document dot get element by ID. Get element by ID. Now the ID is demo, and then now here I'm going to write here the inner HTML, and then let me add an equal sign, and then say x. So it will print out 1000. So let me save, control plus save. And so guys, when you save and run this on our live server, you can see it is 1000. However, if we were to declare it, like let's say let x equals to like let me say 50, and then I close, and then you save. So basically it will just print out this introduction to JavaScript. Yeah, you can see guys, it doesn't bring that 50 because JavaScript cannot be redeclared. So let's see an error in the console so that you may understand it better. So just right click and then I inspect, and then now in the console, so you can see it brings an error here that the x has already been declared, so which means cannot be redeclared. So basically the let keyword cannot cannot be redeclared. And so guys, now you understand that the let keyword cannot be redeclared, like unlike the var. So let's try the var. You see, so var, and then the var the var, and then when you save, it will print out 50. Control plus S is to save, right? And then on the browser you just see it prints out 50. So var can be redeclared, but now the late cannot be redeclared. So now this is now the late. And also the const. Let's briefly understand the const keyword. So basically the const keyword was introduced in 2015, the ECMA 6 now, in 2015. It cannot be redeclared, it cannot be reassigned, but it has the block scope. You can use the block scope. So first of all, let's understand how if the const can be redeclared. So let's use a const here, const, and then here also again let's use const, and then when you save, you'll see an error here in the browser. It will just print out the introduction to JavaScript, and then when we load control, you can see it in the console here. You can see it brings an error here that X has already been declared, which means cannot be redeclared. So basically also the const keyword cannot be redeclared, cannot be reassigned again. So guys, let's try a bit to understand the const keyword. So the const object in the array, because of this you cannot reassign a constant value, you cannot reassign a constant array, you cannot reassign a constant object, but you can change the element of a constant array, you can change the properties of a constant array. Now that we see that it has some weaknesses, so when are we using this const? So basically we use this const keyword when you declare a new array, a new object, a new function here, and other stuffs here. So guys, let's now try to understand this example of the const. So let me use this example here. It's also available on our website, on my website. So let's create an array here. So let me say const first of all, and then let me use an example of cars. I mean, just using the example that is available on our website, and then let me say let me use this. You are going to use this bracket, the square brackets here, and then now let me say the first one should be what? Let me say Subaru, and then let me say the other one is let me say what? Toyota. Actually, yeah, Toyota. It should be in quotation marks. Let me say Toyota. And then let me here say again, perhaps let me say what? BMW. I don't know why I forgot to add these colons. So BMW, and then now your close a statement with what? Semicolon. And then now let's try also to basically let's try to run this statement on our browser. So when you write here what? Cars, and then you save, and the browser can see it brings out those car names. And so guys, we can add an element here also with the with this const. So like let's say let me add first of all this statement here, and then let me add a statement here and say cars here, and then dot push. We use this push to add an element here, the push, and then I'm going to say here open and close this the parentheses, and then let me say now the Volvo, it should be in quotation marks. Don't forget Volvo, and then when you save, When you save, guys, you can see it brings out, it adds Volvo there. So basically this now the const. In JavaScript we use the equal sign to assign a variable, but we are not equating that variable to this value or whichever value. So it just used to for assignment, to assign values, to assign string, to assign what variables. So let's try an example here, an example for arithmetic. So let me use the let x, y, and then now z, and then now let me say now x equals to maybe 20 times 2, 20 times 2, and that should be 40, right? And then now y equals to maybe for example, let me say 100 divided by the 2, that is should be 50. And then now z, let me say for example, let me see first of all, let me say this is 50. So let me say so now let me say x plus y, and then now here let me make it z, let me say z, and then I'll save. Control plus z plus what plus s is to save, right? And then on the browser you can see, guys, it prints out 90. So let's try to do it manually so that you may understand. So x is 20 times 2, that is 40. Y, that is 100 divided by 2, it is 50. So 50 plus 40, that is 90. Sure, that's right. But you can as well add here, like you can say minus let's say minus 40, that should be 50. So guys, as it loads, you can see it brings out 50. So basically these are the operators. And so basically now you can see that we have this is an operator for what? For multiplication. This is the operator for division, operator for addition, for subtraction here, for minus, for subtraction, and there are many. You can find the other operators on our website, on my website, so that you can understand very well, the nametech.com website. So guys, the other thing that we want us to talk about is the JavaScript data types. So the JavaScript variables can hold different data types like numbers, strings, object, and many more. So in programming, data types is an important concept that you need to understand. So to be able to operate on variables, it is important also to know something about the type. And so guys, let's try now this example here. Let me say let x equals to, let me add a number in the string, let me say 20, let me use this parenthesis here, the quotation mark, and then let me say 20, and then now let's say let me say 20 plus a string. Now a string it is let me say Nehemiah. Let me say Nehemiah, then I close with that. Oh wait, I close with a semicolon, and then I save. So guys, you can see it does not bring any sense here that 20 Nehemiah does not bring any sense. So when adding a number to a string, so JavaScript will automatically treat these numbers as a string. I want us to understand this aspect, this concept that JavaScript types are dynamic. And the other thing that I didn't tell you is that JavaScript is case sensitive. So let me say let me say let first name, let me say first name equals to what? Let me say Nehemiah. Nehemiah, and then you close with the semicolon, and then here I'm going to say perhaps. So you see here, I say that the first name, it has begun with a small letter, and then the name, it has begun with a caps, with a capital letter. So let me say, for example, let me say so let me say begin with the caps with an uppercase, and then say first letter, first name, and then you close with us with the semicolon, and then you save. So guys, it will not bring anything. It will not bring anything. If you run it on a console, you will see that error. So guys, you can see. Okay. So guys, you can see it brings an error here that first name is not defined. Why? Because it does not match with the this initial one, which was to begin with the first name. So the spelling are just similar, but now the cases here, we have used the small case, and then here we have used the upper cases. So if I change it and say perhaps, let me say first, and then here I change it to the caps and say name, so it will print out Nehemiah. So let me say Nehemiah. So you can see it prints out Nehemiah. So when you open the console, you can see everything is just perfect. So basically, you need to consider that JavaScript is a case sensitive. So when you are working with it, so be sure that everything has an impact. So let's try to understand that the JavaScript data types are dynamic. So dynamic means they can change anytime. So it can be used to hold different data types. So let me say, so let's take this example here. Let me say let x. So here we are just declaring a variable. Let x, we have declared a variable, and then now the x, now we are assigning a variable. Let x equals to 50. X equals to 50, and then you close with a semicolon. So when you, for example, let me try to show you. So when you print out this let x, and then here you say x, it will bring an undefined what? Undefined output. So let me say x, and then save. So it will be undefined. So guys, you can see it brings out undefined. So basically, you must assign a variable for it to be perfect. And so guys, you can see it brings undefined. And so now guys, if we write here a second statement and say perhaps, let me say x equals to 5, equals to perhaps, let me say 70, and then you close the statement with with a semicolon, and then you can, when you save, you can see now that the initially it was undefined, but now it will bring a number. So guys, you can see it brings 70, and then now it can make it a string. Like if we say let x equals to, and then let me add a string here now and say let me say Nehemiah or name tag. Let me use my brand name tag, and then you can see that the output will be a string when you save. So guys, you can see it is a string. When it loads, you can see guys, it's name tag. So basically, JavaScript data types are dynamic. And so guys, the other thing that I want us to talk about is the booleans. So basically, booleans can have only two values, the true and false. So basically, they are used to basically these are, they bring just the true and false values. Like let's use an example here. Like let me say let x equals to I'm not equating. So x not equals to, perhaps if I say that equals to 100. So this is not equals to 100. I'm just assigning it. So we use the two equal sign to show the equal, but now we are just assigning it. So let's try a second line and say, perhaps let me say let z as x, y, and then now y equals to perhaps let me say 50. Let me say again 200, and then close, and then for z let z let z equals to perhaps 100, and then you close with a semicolon. And so now here I'm going to add here the boolean here. So like, let me say open and close the parentheses, and then say that x equals to y. So that will bring me a false statement, because x is 100, y is 200, so they are not equal. And then now let me add also a break tag here first of all, and say let me create a break tag first of all, br, and then now here let me say class, then open and close the brackets, and then let me say, so before that you ensure that you add an equal sign, a plus sign here, and then here let me say and then y equals to what? Y equals to z. So that must bring a false statement. Why? Because y is 200, then z is what? Z is y is 200, z is 100. So let me save so that you may see. It will bring me false statement here. So guys, you can see it brings me a false statements. But now let me try to make to equate x and y and z. So we know that z and what? Z and x and z, they are equal. So like if I say that x and z equals, so and save, it will bring me a true statement. So basically these are the booleans. I hope you've understood now. And so guys, now the other thing that we want to talk about is the JavaScript functions. And so guys, now let's try an example here so that we may understand very well. And so let's write here a statement here, like a variable here, like let me say var, and then say x equals to I'm assigning it to my function, basically my function. So let me my function, my function here, my function, and then let me open and close these parentheses, and then say, let me say perhaps, let me say 50 or 10 comma here, let me say 20 or 15, whichever value you want, and then you close it with a semicolon here. And then now I'm going to say here that document, I'm going to write this statement that is used to execute your JavaScript programs on the web. So document get element by ID. Now the ID, our ID here, we say that it is demo. So ID is demo, I guess, yeah. And so dot inner HTML, we use the inner HTML, and then equal sign, and then I'm going to say perhaps let me say it is x, x, and remember our variable is x, and then you close it with a semicolon. And so now I want to use the return function here. So let me say function, now my function again, my function, and then I'm going to say perhaps let me give it any name here. Let me first of all open and close the curly brackets, the normal brackets, and then let me say for example x and y, x and y, and then open the curly brackets again here, and then create a space and say return. I'm going to write a return function here, return. So it should return, for example, this is 10 plus times 50. Let me use a multiplication operator here, like let me say x times what? X times y times y, right? So x times y, automatically it should give me, so basically x is going to be 10 times y, that is 50, that will give me 100. So let me close first of all, and then I'll save. So on the browser, guys, you see it will give me 500. So basically, these are the JavaScript functions. So basically just symbols, you can see. The essence of using function in any programming language is that you can use a code to define the code once and use it many times. So like you have a single code and then you are going to use it many times. So you can use the same code many times with different arguments to produce different results. That's why the JavaScript functions are very necessary. So perhaps if I can try another example here, like let me say, let's use an example here, like let me just change some things here. So let me say function here. Let me clear this part first of all, and then let me say function. Let me say function, and then you say that it follows with a name. Let me say my name. Let me just use my function, or we can use anything, and then open and close the parentheses, and then perhaps let me say let me use here my name, like let me say my function, let me use n for name, n for my name, and then I'm going to use here return. I'm going to make a return function here, like so what I do, let me clear this part, and then now let me open and close the curly brackets here and say perhaps let me say return function here. I write a return function, and then let me say perhaps let me say, let me this time use a multiplication division symbol evaluation tool. So let me say 100 divided by the 2. So divide by the 2, and then here again I'm going to use a multiplication sign here and say times times what? Times let me use now n minus what? So it's going to be 50 minus, let me say minus 30. So it's going to, so basically these are n stands for 100 divided by 2, which is 50, and then now I'm going to say this 50. So 50 minus 30, that is 20. So 20 times 50 is, it will give me 500 again. And then now let me close first of all with a semicolon, and then let me write now this statement to, first of all let me clear that part, and then now let me say document dot get element by id, and then our id here now is the id here is a demo, and then I'm going to say dot inner HTML, then the equal sign, I'm going to say now my function, right? So it's my function, and then I'm going to say now what? So I'm going to say what? I'm going to say perhaps let me say that is n, it is, let me give it n value, like let me say let me say 10, or let me say 50. So 50, and then you close with what? Semicolon. No, you use the normal brackets here, just the normal bracket, the normal parentheses, and then I'm going to say perhaps let me say 50, and then you do what? You close with a semicolon, and then when you save, you see guys that it gives me it gives me 1000. And so guys, you can learn more about function on our website, the nametech.com website. We have a full course on function, you can find it there. But now let's try another thing here. So as I told you earlier that while we were discussing JavaScript variables, that they are the containers for data values. So likewise, the object are the are variables too, but objects can contain many values. And so like let's try this example here. I'm going to use a const keyword here. So let me clear this part, and then let me say now const, and then let me say, perhaps let me use an example for a car for you to understand very well, and then equal sign, and then I'm going to say here that like let me use the curly brackets here, and then perhaps let me say type of the car is going to be let me use flat, and then you close with or perhaps it should be in a quotation mark, and then let me say flat, and then a comma, and then a model it should be should be model, and then the model should be, let me say maybe 5,000, or I guess any value, or like 500. And then I'm going to say color, so the color should be color it should be let me say color should be red or white, or whichever color you like, and then you close it out with a semicolon here now. And then we are going to display some data of the object. We are going to say, perhaps let me say here, so that was our object. So this is our object here now. So now we want to display this object, display some data from the object. Like let me say you open and close the quotation mark and say let me say the car type, is, and then quotation mark, and then I'm going to say let me use I'm going to say a plus. I'm going to say plus what? Plus car type. So car type car dot type. So the car type is gonna be what? So the car type here is what? Is flat. So it will print out the car type, which is the car type is, so it will give me flat. So it will print out flat. So let me save and then run this on our browser. So guys, you can see that the car type is flat. So guys, you can see that we have created an object here, and then now here we have this now how we can display it. Like you can see, let me say the car color. Let me say the car color now is, so like I can say, so the car color, right? So color, the car color, it should be red. So let me save, and then on the browser you can see it gives me that the car color is red. So basically these are the object, the JavaScript object. So guys, the other thing that we want us to talk about is the JavaScript events. And so guys, let's now do an example for you to understand very well. So let's create a button here, a button, and then in this button, let me create the name for the button. Let me use the time. So let me say the time is, and the time is, and then here in this first tag, I'm going to add some on click function. So on click, I'm going to write here this JavaScript code statement. So document dot get element by ID, right? And then now here I'm going to write here that ID. So ID, first of all, let's create an ID here. Let me say p tag, and then I create an ID in this first tag. Let me say ID, and then let me use a demo or whichever word you wish. And then here I'm going to use a single, let me use a single quotation mark and say, perhaps let me say demo. Use the ID. Remember, ID should be unique. When you have written there demo, also here use demo. And then now here you're going to say dot inner HTML, and then now equal sign, and then I'm going to write here the function that brings date. So let me say date, and then you open and close the parentheses. And so now when you save on the browser, guys, you can see the time is, so when you click on it, so it will bring you your current time. Yeah, so as you can see, it will bring you the current time. So if you want to learn more about events, just visit my website, the nametech.com website. So guys, thank you so much for watching to the end. Basically, you can find a full reference to the course on my website. Remember, I have not tackled the the loop for, the loop for in. I have not tackled the switch, the condition, the scopes, the errors, the JavaScript keywords, and name it in details. So however, on my website you can find the full reference to the course. So if you want JavaScript specifically, you can just visit this URL, the hypertext on fat protocol with a secure extension, and then this colon, and then 2 forward slashes, and then nametech.com. And then if you want JavaScript, then you are going to specify to JavaScript, and then it will just direct you to the JavaScript page, and then you are going to find the full reference to the course. So guys, thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you next. So we are going to have a project in the next video where we are going to design an e-commerce website. So guys, thank you so much for now, and see you later.